Hello everyone, I'm your host and host Anjali from iNix Instagram Live, welcoming you all to our new show, Spirit of Life. On this special show, we will discuss spirituality, mental health, wellness, and inner consciousness. Today, I am beyond honored and thrilled to introduce a true beacon of wisdom and compassion, Sadhvi Bhagwati Saraswati Ji, to our Instagram Live. Sadhvi Ji is a renowned spiritual leader, speaker, and author whose profound teaching has touched many around the globe. She has dedicated her life to promoting spirituality, wellness, and inner consciousness, inspiring individuals to live with love, compassion, and purpose. Namaskar, Sadhvi Ji. Jai Gange. How are you?
Jai Gange, Jai Shri Krishna. Wonderful and so happy to be together.
Ji. And here we have some questions from our youngsters who are seeking to elevate their consciousness and transform their lives. So, Sadhvi ji, our first question was asked by Rashi, who lives in Dehradun. So, her question is that I accept that I overthink, but now it's affecting my relationships, both personal and professional. What should I do?
Can you repeat the first part of the question again?
Okay, I accept that I overthink. Now it's affecting my relationships, both personal
I'm,
and
I'm
professional.
I'm so sorry. The beginning part, I got the part it's affecting my relationships. What is the first part of the question?
That I accept that I overthink a lot.
I overthink a lot. Okay.
Ji.
Sorry. Yes. Perfect. So we have to understand that thinking is a product of the mind. It's just a habit. It's the nature of the mind. It's like saying my dog barks too much or the baby cries too much. It's the nature of what the mind does is it thinks. Now, this is why our spiritual practices work to help us attain. I don't like the word control because it's not that we are trying to suppress it or oppress it or somehow beat it into submission, but it gives us the ability to work with the mind so that we can use it when we need it to think. For example, you want to balance your checkbook, you need to balance accounts, you need to figure out whether you're going to go to this university or that university, or accept this job or that job. It's great to have a mind that can think, a mind that can weigh pros and cons, that can understand differences, distinctions. You need to go someplace, follow directions without your Google Maps. You need a thinking mind. So the mind itself is not bad. The problem is that we lose the ability to use it. And what ends up happening is the mind becomes in charge and we become the slave of it. So if you notice that the mind is running away from you, bring in practices that teach you how to work with it. Practices of meditation, practices of mantra. The mantra is a very powerful technique to work with the mind. Practices of mindful yoga asanas, that as you are using the body to bring about stability, not only in the body, but actually in the mind as well. And allow yourself to train the mind to slowly, slowly, slowly go exactly where you want it to go. So if your overthinking is messing up your relationships because here you are supposed to be in conversation, in communion, in connection with someone, and your mind is all over the place, you just develop a technique, a practice, a habit of bringing it back to the present moment. That's what mindfulness is. And so, whether we are learning mindfulness in our meditation or whether I'm practicing it in my life, so I want to drink some water, let's say. Well, instead of on the one hand being, scrolling my phone here while I'm drinking my water or watching something or trying to talk to someone, I actually allow the drinking of water to become an exercise in mindfulness. I become aware of lifting up the cup. I become aware of bringing it to my mouth. I become aware of the act of drinking it, of swallowing. Simple thing. But it becomes a practice, a technique in mindfulness. When I eat, instead of sitting and eating while I'm playing video games or watching some movie or engaged in a passionate conversation, instead, can I eat in silence, mindfully? So that I'm aware. It's better for the mind. It's also better for the digestion. You're also much less likely to overeat or to eat junk food because you're actually feeling it. And all of these practices then stay with us in our relationships, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with others. The mind, you can think of it like a muscle. If you don't train it and you don't work with it, it's not going to do what you want. I mean, could you imagine if you had never lifted any weights, you had never done any kind of weight training, and then suddenly you have a 100-pound suitcase that you're supposed to be able to lift up and stick in the car or on the conveyor belt at the airport? You won't be able to do it because you haven't built those muscles. Or if you try to do it, you're just going to injure your back. But if you slowly work with the muscles every day, then when it comes to lifting up the suitcase, you're able to do it. And the mind needs to be worked with in the same way, like a muscle.
Ji. Thank you so much, Sadhvi Ji, for this wonderful answer. I'm pretty sure that it will help a lot to Rashi in her future. And moving forward to our next question, this question came from Pulkit, who lives in Udaipur. His question is it okay for me to blindly trust people who are close to my heart without any doubt, even though sometimes it backfires on me? Should I consider changing this aspect of myself or not?
Wonderful. So to be trusting is fantastic. To be trusting allows us to open our hearts. It allows us to be fully present in oneness, in faith, in love with everyone. However, trusting does not mean that we leave our common sense at the door.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that I trust someone who's betrayed me before. It doesn't mean that I trust someone without knowing them. And it doesn't mean that I trust someone recklessly. So for example, there's different things that you trust someone with. Maybe you trust them first with a little bit of vulnerable information about you. Something that requires trust, it requires vulnerability, but that if they break that trust, it's not going to be the end of the world. And you test them because you want to make sure someone's trustworthy. It's like before you step on something, you want to make sure that it can actually hold your weight. Sometimes you go to a construction area where they're building something, or they've put a temporary piece of wood over maybe the flow of a river or over something else. Well, before you put your whole weight on it, you want to test it. You want to make sure this piece of wood can actually hold my weight. In the same way, before you trust someone with all of your life savings because they say, oh, this is a great investment, you don't want to do that off the bat. You may not want to do that ever. But you certainly don't want to do that unless you are 200% sure that not only is the person reliable, ethical, moral, but that they're actually also intelligent. And that what they're telling you isn't something that just they believe, but is actually something that's true. So there's a lot of components to trusting someone. And I would definitely advise against blind trust. You want to trust with your eyes wide open. So maybe I trust you to be my friend, and that's wonderful. I trust you with my love. But that doesn't mean that I trust you with my life savings. It doesn't mean that I trust you with my physical life. If someone says, oh, come skydiving with me in my airplane, and I'm going to give you a parachute and you'll jump out of the airplane. Well, before you do something like that, you would want to really make sure that this person was not only good in heart, good in intention, but that somebody who was flying the plane was a professional pilot, that they knew exactly how they were packing parachutes, that they had some kind of good professional company that had been taking people skydiving without any accidents for many years. Just trusting someone doesn't mean that you close your eyes.
Yeah.
Or that you leave your common sense. Yeah, I trust you to be my friend. I trust you to be loyal. I trust you not to betray me. But go slowly. Go slowly before you trust them with things that are irreplaceable. Your life is irreplaceable. Your life savings is irreplaceable. Your secrets, okay, that's ego. That's your reputation, your eject. I would trust someone with my eject long before I would trust them with my physical life. Because the worst that happens is I feel embarrassed. The worst that happens is they sort of humiliate me in some way, or they tell some secret. But I would test the waters before you trust someone deeper and fuller with things that cannot be salvaged.
Thank you so much, Sadhvi Ji. I know this is going to help a lot of people in many different ways. Okay, so moving forward, our next question came from Bhavya, who lives in Bangalore. Her question is, with the rise of nuclear family, loneliness became a prevalent issue. How can individuals navigate this trend without falling into depression nowadays?
Great. Well, nuclear families are definitely a trend. And in some cases, I certainly understand why it feels like a desirable trend. There's certainly a lot more freedom, a lot
Yeah.
more flexibility, a lot more autonomy to kind of do things our way. But you also really lose a lot. And this question makes us realize what we lose, which is the power of a joint family, of the love, the presence, the community of all of the different generations of the, uncles and aunts and bobbies and all of the different people in the family. And even though, yeah, you give up some autonomy, you give up some freedom, you give up a little bit of ease in some way, in most cases, it's really worth it. And so I would really encourage young husbands and wives to think 100 times before they say, okay, we want to live on our own. Yeah, it's the easiest thing to do. Your in-laws are annoying, move out. But recognize that you're actually losing a lot while you are striving for freedom and autonomy. And again, in some cases, it may be the best decision to move out. But in a lot of cases, developing some san shakti, some ability to compromise, some ability to tolerate, some ability to accept, some ability to bend, is actually a much greater internal strength, and also something that's much more beneficial to you in the long run, especially when you have children. So not only is it a matter of loneliness for you when it's just you and your husband or you and your wife, but also then you find yourself in a difficult situation with the kids. And, then you're hiring babysitters and nannies rather than having grandparents or aunts and uncles or cousins taking care of them. And no matter how wonderful a babysitter or a nanny may be, they're not family. And there's a very different way that family takes care of family than the way that employees take care of family. So I would really encourage them to think and then think again and then think again before deciding to move out. But
Yeah.
loneliness in general is really an epidemic these days. And I think one of the other really important ways to address this is to get off of our devices. You walk into a restaurant and you see all of these people sitting in a restaurant alone. Maybe it's lunch hour, people have gone for lunch, in the middle of a work day. They're sitting alone on their device. And you think, how much nicer would it be for them to bring their sandwich or bring their soup or bring their salad and sit down at the table with someone else who's sitting alone and say, hey, do you mind if I join you? And strike up a conversation with someone else who's having lunch alone, rather than just sit down and scroll Instagram or TikTok or WhatsApp and, lull yourself into a false illusion of intimacy. When we get on social media, it really lulls us into false connection and false intimacy. Oh, all these friends, all these followers, all these, comments of people who loved my post. That is false connection. And I'm not saying it's bad. Sure, it's great. Put wonderful content out, inspire people, let them respond with love and hugs, let them like you, let them follow you. But do not think that that substitutes for real connection. There's a reason that our mental health crisis is rising at exactly the same rate, just parallel to the rise of smartphones and social media. Teen suicide rates are rising at exactly the same way, parallel to the use of smartphones and social media.
Yeah.
So if we want to take back our mental health, we really need to limit the use of our devices. Use them as tools. You need it, use it. But do not turn it into a best friend, a community, a babysitter, entertainment. Use it for whatever work you need from it. But do not kid yourself into thinking that it takes the place of friends, a community, family members.
Ji, I totally agree. Thank you so much, Sadhvi ji. Moving forward to our next question. This question is from Vikas, who lives in Kashmir. His question is that true love seems very rare nowadays, with many young people seeking only casual hookups. So I sometimes struggle to determine whether my partner's affection for me is genuine love or just a fleeting attraction. So how can I navigate this uncertainty that he truly loves me or not?
Great question. Well, of course, the very simplest way to test it is if you refrain from physical and sexual relationships, then it's really easy to figure out who really loves me, because if they're not getting physical or sexual satisfaction and they're still with me and they still want to be with me and they know that I'm not going to be a one night stand, that I'm not going to be a casual fling, well, then I know that they want something deeper. But people who come to me because I'm just going to be such an easy casual fling, there isn't actually a way to know. Because as long as I'm giving them that physical and sexual reward, they're going to keep coming. It's like a surge of feel-good reward chemicals in the brain. As long as I'm giving that to them, they'll keep coming back for more. But it's not love. It's the same thing like rats pushing a bar to get cocaine. If what they are looking for is just chemical, physiological enjoyment that they're feeling and experiencing hormonally and in their neurotransmitters, then it's literally the equivalent of just, rats in labs that push bars in order to to be able to get cocaine out of a little red tube that they've got going into their cage. And then we become just like lab animals. So the easiest way is don't give that. And then
Yeah.
you'll know. Then you'll know very simply, very easily. And I think the other aspect that's really important is we've gotten into a culture where we expect everything to be instant and immediate, whatever we want. So if I'm feeling bored or frustrated, I just have to go onto social media and immediately I can get those hits of dopamine. Immediately my brain chemistry can feel better by engaging on social media. Now, it hasn't actually helped me in any way. In fact, it's hurt me because it's given me that false lull, but it's addicted my brain into the immediacy of reward. And it's created a situation where we lose the ability that every single generation before us had to develop, which was to self-soothe. Okay, I'm bored, I'm frustrated. What am I going to do about it? Well, if I can't go on social media, if I can't play video games, if I can't just distract myself with one video after another, what am I going to do? And we then develop abilities and skills and strengths and muscles of working with those challenging times. And these days, though, because of the immediacy of everything being available, whether it's a hit of dopamine, whether it's something I order on Amazon and it's on my doorstep the same day, whether it's whatever I want, I can download it immediately, I can order it immediately, I can access it immediately. And we've lost the ability to have patience and to cultivate things that actually take time to develop. And real love takes time to develop. Lust does not.
Yeah.
Passion does not. But if we are not giving time in cultivation, then we're left with just that which is very shallow, that which is very superficial, that which is very sasta, and that which is, just on the surface level of things. So we have to develop this patience and depth to really get what is valuable in life.
Thank you so much, Sadhvi Ji. Our next question came from Gitanjali, who lives in Delhi. Her question is that I'm a kind of person who ruins all of her happy moments just by overthinking. So, could you please guide me how to break free from this cycle?
So she ruins all of her happiness by what?
By overthinking.
Overthinking. So yes, we come back, a perfect place to end as we come back to the circle of where we began.
Yeah.
So here's the dilemma. If I am thinking about this moment, I'm thinking, oh, this is really, boy, this is really fun. I love being together on iNext. I love having this Insta Live, but oh my God, 2 or 3 minutes, it's going to be over. Then what am I going to do? Well, even though I'm thinking about this experience, I've actually separated myself from it. I'm no longer in the moment because I'm thinking about the end of this moment. I'm analyzing, I'm judging, I'm critiquing this moment. Even if I'm doing it in a positive way, nonetheless, I've pulled myself back. I'm now looking at this moment, naming it, judging it, describing it, thinking about it, which means I'm no longer here. And if I'm not here, I cannot be happy. You can only be happy when you're here. So it's a perfect question because yes, thinking is what steals our happiness. Now, of course, if I go in a different level And I'm sitting here with you, but instead I'm thinking about, oh my God, when I get off of this interview, I'm going to have to go into this meeting and it's going to be awful. And those people I have to go meet, what if they don't like me? And what if I make a fool of myself? And then all of the anxiety starts. And again, I'm not here. And the only way around overthinking, you cannot think your way out of overthinking.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
The only way out of overthinking is to drop into first the heart. We begin in the mind, the overthinking.
Yeah.
First place I drop is straight into my heart. And just allow yourself, you can use your hands also, just feel the heart. And allow yourself to just feel love in that moment. Love for the moment. Love for yourself in the moment. Love for the people you're with in that moment, whether you think it's easy to love them, whether they're annoying you like crazy, whatever it may be. But just drop straight into the heart and feel love in that moment. And then drop deeper. Drop deeper. There's an energy center called the Swadhisthana chakra. And it's just below my navel, just below my belly button, above my groin. And Swadhisthana literally means the place of the self. Swa, of course, is self. Stan is place. So it is the place of the self. And if I can drop into that chakra, I immediately come right here, right now. It pulls all of the vital force of the being out of my brain and into my self, anchored. So allow yourself to just bring the breath, bring the awareness of the breath, bring the awareness of yourself into that chakra. Whatever you're doing, you're sitting in a board meeting that's difficult, or you're sitting in a moment with someone you love that's beautiful. Either way, allow yourself to be present in that moment by dropping deep. And of course, as we circle back to the first question, develop a meditative practice. It will help build the muscles that you need to be present. Because in meditation, what happens? We focus on our breath or on a mantra or on a name of God, a word, or on the sound of Om, whatever we're meditating upon. And then, of course, the mind wanders and we just bring it back. And we learn to see these thoughts as just little clouds that are blowing across a blue sky on a windy day. And we learn through the practice of meditation to keep our focus, our identification on the blue sky rather than on the clouds. And that skill, that ability, that habit, that muscle stays with us in the rest of our lives as well. Think about meditation as your time at the gym. It's the mental gym, the spiritual gym. The workout that you do at the gym in the morning, well, it stays with you in the day. In the same way, the workout that you do with the mind in the morning, it stays with you through the day.
Thank you so much, Sadhvi Ji, for this wonderful and meaningful answers, which are also very life saving for many. So, friends, I hope that you have definitely gotten guidance from these answers. Now it's time for signing off. If you like this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe the INX Instagram Live, and also stay tuned for more enriching and transformative conversation. Till then, goodbye and keep watching INX Instagram Live. Thank you. Jai Gange, Sadhvi Ji.
Jai Gange, Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.